Frank Warren is on the line live, and we've been rejoined by Dillian White's lawyer, Jeff Benz. Jeff, good morning once again. This is your chance. Tell Frank what you're not happy with.
Well, I understand that while I was gone, Frank managed to breach our confidential agreement and read it. But putting that aside, I don't know what else he said. But Frank, where are we on the tickets that Dillian asked to buy before you sold them all to Ticketmaster? He hasn't been given the chance to buy any. And where are we on the comps that he asked for? And where are we on the escrow that we've asked for? And we don't have any escrow of Dillian's purse. We've been asking for that for over a month. These are just basic things, putting aside the economic issue. So go ahead, Frank. I want to hear from you.
Did you sign a contract for this bout?
We did, Frank, on the representation by your son that we would have further negotiations. You weren't part of that discussion. I haven't even talked to you since before the first bid.
Hey, are you going to let me
Jeff, let Frank speak.
Jeff, there's other people have got views besides yours. So let's just go through this. You signed a bout agreement. In that bout agreement, where does it say anything about escrow accounts, tickets, or any of these things that you mentioned? Where does it? You're a lawyer. Where does it say anything in that contract you signed?
Hey, Frank, if you want to get into a legal debate about Swiss law, which is what apparently applies to this,
I'm happy to do it, man. I'm happy to do it. So then answer the question. Answer the question. You're a lawyer.
Frank, are you going to let Frank, baby, are you going to let me answer?
I'm not a lawyer. I left school when I was 14 and a half. You're a lawyer.
Are you going to let me answer?
Did you advise your client to sign the bout agreement?
Okay, Jeff, you heard what Frank's saying, so now is your chance to answer it. Were these things in the contract? On you go, Jeff.
I get to talk. We signed a form bout agreement. We had negotiations that said we were going to have further conversations about all these other elements. Frank should know that. He hasn't been told that by his lawyer or by his son. It's not my fault. So, Frank, tell me where we are on get Dillian's money guaranteed.
You've signed an agreement. You're his lawyer. So if you're worried about the money, then he should be looking to you because you advised him to sign it. And if there's a problem, if I was him, I'd sue you if I don't get paid.
Jeff, is there a contractual obligation in the contract for Frank to put money in escrow?
There isn't. We agreed to discuss it later.
So with respect...
We agreed...
Hang on, Jeff, I haven't finished. I haven't finished. With respect, if it's not a contractual obligation to put it in escrow, why are you asking for something that's not a contractual obligation then?
To ask Mr. Warren then why.
But I'm asking you because you're the one that's negotiated the contract.
Why was Dillian White shamed by Mr. Warren for not going?
That's not the question I asked you, Jeff. Jeff, I asked you. You're putting it on Frank's toes. Hang on, Jeff. You're putting it on Frank's toes about escrow. If it's not in the contract, why would you ask for something that you've had your client sign a contract on that doesn't reference that in the contract?
We had a discussion with the other side about all of this, and we had a deadline to sign a form bout agreement that Mr. Warren wants to read a bunch of other things into, including Dillian's obligations to promote the fight and do other things, which aren't in there either. And you now want to hold me to that standard? We had a discussion where we were going to have a further discussion. This is what goes on in the real world of business.
It took them nearly 4 weeks to sign a contract. They signed it an hour before it was due to be signed. Clause 11 of that contract, it says the boxers shall reasonably promote the bout, the WB sanction of the bout, and the WBC heavyweight championship positively in their social media accounts. Dillian has not posted one thing about this fight. Not one.
Why is that, Jeff?
Is that not a contractual obligation, Jeff, Mr. Lawyer?
Well, Mr. Warren, it is not contractually defined as to what that means. You tell me what's reasonable, buddy.
I'll tell you what it means. It means he should be.
I know what you think it means. I think you think it means he should be on it every day. Let's talk about how long it took to do this agreement. You guys represented to us a form agreement that turned out to not be the form agreement. You misrepresented to us what the form agreement was, and when we got to the bottom of it, we had to go back to what was actually the form agreement.
Tell me something. Why did you sign this agreement? There's no escrow in it. You're obliged to do things promotionally. Why did you sign it if you're not going to do these things? And you want more things that are not in the contract?
Frank,
you're a lawyer.
Frank,
I'm not a lawyer. You're
Frank,
the lawyer.
Hey,
you're the lawyer.
Mr.
What are you doing?
Mr. Non-lawyer.
You've obviously not protected. All the things you're asking for is because obviously, in your view, you've not protected your client's interest.
Show me where it is that we have to do any of the things that you've said.
On the 26th of February, my son sent a text to Jeff at 17:08 saying that we'd provide a private plane to bring him over. Although we're not obliged to do it, it's not contractual. None of this is.
Why are we arguing about escrows then, Frank? Why is there a reference to escrow? If you don't have to do it, it's not contractual obligation.
Let me finish then, and I'll explain. Because they asked for the money to go into escrow, and we agreed to do that, subject to him showing up to the launch press conference.
Is that right, Jeff?
You want to partially read your son's text to me? I can read you the whole lot of them if you want.
But is that right, Jeff?
A whole bunch of emails too.
Is that
right,
Jeff?
No, it's not accurate.
No, it's not.
Not accurate. This is me to your son. This is tied to making progress on incentives and nailing down comps, credentials, access, and the ticket buy, as well as getting the escrow nailed down. You failed to mention that text, probably 2 texts before your son's that you just read from. So if you want to play this game, I'm in this business.
This is on the
26th
of February.
I'm looking at the 20. I'm looking at the 26th of February text in my phone right now, Frank.
Was there an offer made to you to put the money into escrow or not?
There was never any offer to put the money into escrow that was with an escrow agreement and terms and the ability to do it. None of it.
Oh,
you wanted us to fly.
Guys, I've got to say, Frank,
and a wing and a prayer.
Jeff, Frank, it seems to me one of you's not telling the truth. So who is it?
You're a lawyer, Jeff, and I'm going to say this as a lawyer, and I'm as I say, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to say you're a liar.
Well, Frank, you might
sue
me for libel.
So sue me for libel.
Frank, you might get to test that out in court, but I would say to you, it makes a lot more sense for us to start talking to each other directly than through the radio. So if you want to do it this way, I'm happy to do it.
Adhere to the contract that you got your client to sign.
In fairness to Frank, if you sign a contract and you're trying to circumnavigate that contract by renegotiating things, then Frank does have a point to say, adhere to your contract. If you want some other things, fine, we'll discuss them. But adhere to the basic principles of your contract first.
Well, we have.
Thank you.
If we haven't.
But escrow isn't part of it, is it?
Simon, explain to the listeners what escrow is.
It means parked in an account held to order in favour of the fighter. An escrow account, by the way, Jeff, it's your job to set up an escrow account. If you want money paid into an escrow account, you give Frank the coordinates, not the other way round.
I don't buy that, especially when
it's not. Hang on, it's not a case of buying it. It's a fact. If you want money paid to an escrow account, you tell Frank where you want to pay it.
Jeff, a simple question: have you acted from start to finish so far honourably?
Absolutely.
Frank, have you started on this from start to now honourably?
Everything in that contract, since I've won the purse bid, or Queensbury won the purse bid, everything that we've had to do, we've done. Money was lodged. The deposit was lodged with the WBC, over $4 million. The venue, the date was given on time. The contract from Tyson was signed. They eventually signed theirs, all on sign. Everything done. The press conference, they never showed up at all at. That's their first acts of bad faith as far as this is concerned.
Was it a breach of contract, Frank, then? Is that a breach of contract?
Of course it is. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and we will deal with it. We've already written to them and told them. We reserve our position and we'll deal with that after the fight.
Jeff, is everything going to get sorted out?
The fight's going to go forward. Dillian's going to fight. Is it all going to be sorted out? Well, that's going to depend on a lot of people other than us.
Do you echo that, Frank?
Look, the smoking gun was fired. We went ahead with a press conference and sold out in 3 hours. That smoking gun was fired. That's gone. You've not helped at all in any way, in any shape or form. There's been nothing from Dillian to help promote this fight. That's a fact of life. You even wrote to us and said to us, we can't use his photographs on the poster. How is that supposed to?
Is that true, Jeff? That they couldn't use Dillian's image on the poster?
We wrote to them and said you needed Dillian's approval in order to use his artwork on the poster. We believe they misrepresented Dillian's status in the artwork that they chose. They never came to us and asked for consent. I've been at this for 30 years, advising and running people that run events, and I've never once dared to use an individual's image or anything else without their consent.
Jeff Benz, Dillian White's lawyer, we want to thank you for your time. Frank Warren, thank you for joining us. You two have got a lot to catch up on. The fight is live and exclusive on TalkSport, and let's hope it's as fiery as the build-up.